great big shout. That wasn't very good. The sides won. Okay, sides, one more time. All right, now the ends with a great big shout.
Chapter 13.
Hey, that's good. Okay, everybody circle left. And I'm going to be on the floor.
At 5 p.m., Kevin Powers burst out of the front door of the Melrose Monitor and pushed his way through the large and densely populated crowd on East Main Street. He was in a state of panic and in a desperate search of the mayor, the sheriff, the fire chief, or anyone he could talk to about the severe weather warning he'd just received over his telex machine. Spotting Doc, he made a beeline for the main stage. Doc was standing at his throne wearing a crown and holding a huge gavel in his hand. He was formally kicking off the start of the Granddaddy Dance competition. Earlier in the day, Dr. Jones was coronated the Coondog Day Grand King, a title that he proudly absorbed into his ego. His Majesty also relished the distinct honor of crowning his longtime lady friend, Mary Margaret Blackford, as the Festival Queen. From there, the King and Queen formally recognized their royal court, which included a princess, prince, junior princess, junior prince, baby princess, and baby prince. Everyone but Doc and Queen had been given their royal positions weeks earlier by the result of penny votes. Each year, young boys and girls collected pennies from the townspeople weeks prior to Coondog Day. The money raised would flow back into the budget to cover expenses for the following year's festival. Kevin pleaded with Doc to make an announcement over his microphone about the terrible storm that was tracking our way. But Doc rudely ignored Kevin because he was too caught up in the moment. "Doc, you need to read this report from the National Weather Service to everyone here." Is this thing on?
Ladies and gentlemen, in 1963, we inaugurated our very first Coondog Day celebration. And today I can only say thank you to the wonderful members of our beloved Melrose community, and to all of you wonderful people who have traveled here from so very far away.
Doc, listen to me. There's a huge storm coming in, and we need to warn everyone to get the hell out of here. Shut up, Kevin. Don't interrupt me.
Why, just this morning, I had the distinct pleasure of welcoming a Mr. Hayden Lake, who is a distinguished attorney who had just arrived by train all the way from Charleston, South Carolina, just to be part of our wonderful celebration.
Doc, read this paper, please, Doc, and tell everyone they need to know about the storm, and leave now. Powers, would you get the hell out of here?
And so now, as we begin our famous Granddaddy Square Dance, we say in Melrose, the rest is history. So have fun, my wonderful friends, and dance, dance, dance.
Doc, please, there's no time to waste. Stop this nonsense, Kevin, and go away. Don't put a damper on this fine day. So off Kevin ran, with his paper in hand, frantically trying to find anyone who would take him seriously. I was sitting on a wooden crate by the front door, drinking a bottle of Yoo-Hoo and eating a moon pie, when he burst through the front door of our store. "Elaine, where's Gudger? I can't find anyone in this damn town. I have some bad news. Where's the mayor? Where's anybody?" "What's wrong, Kevin? Calm down. What's going on?" "There's a storm, Elaine, heading our way. I mean a big storm, and we got to get the word out or we're going to have a disaster on our hands." "When do they expect it to get here?" my mom asked. "Maybe in an hour or two. Who knows? No one knows. Soon, I expect. Hell, I don't know. Soon. Even the regional forecasters don't know what's going on. It just hit the wires just now. They say there's a heavy line of storms causing tornadoes, high winds, hail and rain, more rain and rain, all heading here." "Well, when was the last time you saw Gudger?" my mother asked. "No one has seen him since last night at the hunt. They think he was at the jail last night, but today he's like gone. He's like AWOL. I remember the mayor saying something about the storm yesterday, Kevin. But everybody brushed him off, as if he was some kind of a fearmonger." "Well, where is the mayor?" Kevin asked. "He's out looking for Gudger with the county police." Unknown to our region of the world, earlier in the week, Hurricane Camille made landfall near Waveland, Mississippi, as a Category 5 storm, with winds of 175 miles an hour and a 25-foot storm surge. Camille marched inland, destroying everything in its path. Since so many people in Mississippi were taken completely off guard, It stood to reason that we'd be the last to know. Further, since the center of the storm was expected to track off to the northwest, forecasters in our region considered it a non-event. But as the days since landfall clicked by, the storm developed a mind of its own, turning northeastward and spawning off pop-up storms in all directions. I was never the sort of guy who tried to save mankind, but on that day I jumped into action, especially when my mother was already out the door on her way to the center of town. Why was it I always felt the need to save my mother from everything, when my father never seemed to care? I guess he had blind faith in my mother's ability to take care of herself. The temperature was ridiculously hot, and the humidity was heavier than hell, with not a cloud in the sky. People were still trailing into town, despite the lack of parking or any knowledge of any impending storm. They lined the streets with lawn chairs and settled in for the long haul, waiting for the big dance to start. It was amazing to me how everyone seemed so oblivious to the horrid heat, crowded streets, insane chatter. If it were not for my mother rushing out to save mankind, I'd be far away from this temperature and stupid coondog madness. By 6 p.m., there were 3 bands playing at once, in separate locations near the center of town, creating a cacophony of musical madness. A bluegrass band was performing on the main stage in front of the Western Auto, playing Red River Gal. A top 40 band was across the street from the Melrose Library, playing a song called Born to be Wild, while a church band playing gospel music was on the playground on the other side of the tracks playing a terrible version of Amazing Grace. More than 3 dozen tents were assembled, each doing their best to provide some semblance of protection against the blazing sun on the food vendors, artists, craftsmen, and face painters. I always noticed that when a town offers something for free, in this case just to see everybody else, people came in from everywhere. It also seemed unlikely that any announcement of the upcoming storm could be done over any valid public address system. I imagined every single tent, chair, umbrella, and table being sucked into the sky and off to a southern version of Oz. The spot where the girls sat earlier was now standing room only. I expect that John and the girls had probably gone off to confront the mayor, Hayden Lake, and Gudger. On impulse, when I left the store earlier in pursuit of my mother, I grabbed my backpack and slung it over my back and ran into a thick wall of heat and humidity. It wasn't until I reached the main stage when I realized that not only did I pack a canteen of water, 3 Slim Jims, 2 large strips of beef jerky, but also a loaded pistol, which I had placed there earlier. I cringed when I realized that I was fully armed and dangerous in the center of the very town that I grew up in. If anybody knew that I had a gun in my possession, I would have been tackled by the nearest deputy. I was about to run back to the store and unload my firearm when I spotted Victor and 2 other officers pointing at the only black person in town, and then me. It was Hattie Mae, and she was running towards me with a look of terror in her face. Suddenly the gun in my backpack became valuable as I pushed my way through the crowd towards Hattie Mae. Over the years, Hattie Mae Wainwright softened her opinion of me as I punished myself for that terrible rocking incident so long ago. Maybe it was because of my constant prayers for forgiveness. Or maybe it was also because she could sense that I had difficulty keeping my eyes off her. Since a child, she had transformed from a quiet little black girl with big white eyes and short pigtails into a beautiful young woman with a bright, shiny smile, curly hair, twinkling eyes, and a beautiful figure. I transitioned as well, but not into a spectacular human being, but what I considered to be a semi-good-looking teenager with shoulder-length hair and a mild case of acne. Amazingly, the more we got to know each other, the more we appreciated each other, as if we were tied together by my horrible sin. The scar from my rock did not detract from her good looks in the least, but only enhanced her beauty. Though I never considered it, showing any interest in Hattie or any black girl in Melrose back then, would have been considered a mortal sin. Further, Hattie Mae never addressed me as Rainy Ray, but simply Rainy. And I followed suit, addressing her as Hattie. Hattie Mae Harris carried a large degree of charismatic energy, driven not only by her beauty, but her soul. When we approached each other on the crowded Main Street, her lovely smile and positive energy was gone and replaced with raw terror. "Hattie, what the hell's going on? I need to talk to you, Rainey, and I need to talk to you right now." "Okay, Hattie, tell me what's going on." "I know what happened, Rainey. I know what happened to Miss Martha the night she got beat up by Mr. Rathers." She glanced over her shoulder and seemed very nervous about being there. "We can't talk here. Let's go somewhere where we can be alone." She took my hand and tugged me across the street, up the railroad track and out of view. Back then, never would a white boy run down the tracks holding the hands of a black girl, much less a 16-year-old black girl and a 17-year-old white boy. I could feel a community of eyes watching us as we ran down the tracks and out of sight. We disappeared deep into the woods when she turned around and faced me. She was shaking with fear as her eyes pooled with tears. I couldn't help but take her in my arms and try to protect her. "Mr. Rathers told me something, Rainey." "Okay, Hattie, tell me." "That if I told anyone about what I saw, he'd hunt me down and do me right, he told me. He told me that." "Victor Rathers said that to you?" "Uh-huh, he said that." "Well, what does that mean, do you right?" She was crying as she summoned the courage to say more. "What, Hattie? Tell me." "Mr. Rathers said that if I told anybody about what I saw, he'd hunt me down and do the same to me." "Do what to you?" "What he did to Miss Martha, Rainey." "What did he do to her?" "He was hitting her. And then he was trying to do something else to her." "What was he trying to do?" "I don't know, Rainey. He looked like he was trying to hurt her. And he was trying to smother her with his body." I felt a flame build up in my chest as I soaked in Hattie's tearful eyes as she struggled to describe something for which she had no form of reference. For the next half hour, Hattie Mae described a scene that must have been horrifying to witness and terrifying to recall. On the night of the first big dance, Hattie Mae was finishing up some last-minute chores and was about to leave Miss Martha's house and go home. Victor, on the other hand, had just been beat up by 3 Melrose boys and was making his way to Miss Martha's home. He was bloody, drunk, embarrassed, and determined to see Miss Martha again. I heard someone talking to himself outside on the steps of the front porch. He was talking gibberish. He was making no sense at all. At times he would cuss out loud at someone in his imagination. "I'm coming for you, Darnell. I'm going to get your friends too. And I'm going to see to it that you'll never be able to climb a ladder or paint another house in your dang life." Holy shit. You saw all of this? I moved over to the living room window to get a closer look at Victor when I noticed Miss Martha coming across the street towards the house. I was scared to death for both her and me, but I couldn't do anything to warn her away. She stopped when she saw Victor and turned the other direction and was about to walk away when she heard Victor crying and moaning as if he was in some kind of pain. I guess she felt sorry for him and just wanted to help him or something. You know the way some ladies do, always trying to help the injured. "Victor, what happened to you? Did those boys do this to you?" "Oh, no worries, Martha. I'm okay. I probably deserved every bit of this for my crazy way I danced with you in town. Oh, Miss Martha, I feel so terrible about how you must have felt. But I just wanted to see you and be with you is all." "Oh, Victor, you're bleeding. Come on inside and let me clean you up." I scooted back in the kitchen and hid in the broom closet, while Miss Martha went in the hallway bathroom to get a warm washcloth and some cotton swabs. Victor had moved to the couch and continued to play the part of a pitiful man. She returned to the couch and began taking care of Mr. Rathers. When she was finished, he started running his fingers through her hair and sniffing her neck. Miss Martha, you smell so beautiful. I'm so glad you're not upset with me anymore. Thank you for being so kind to me." It looked to me as if Martha enjoyed being in Victor's company as they snuggled closer together. After a few minutes, things started to heat up and they kissed each other for a long time. I didn't want to see any more, so I began edging for the back door, I suddenly heard Miss Martha say, "Slow down, Victor, and watch where you go with those hands."
Oh, come on, Miss Martha. I can tell you like it.
"How much have you had to drink, Victor? You reek of alcohol." On his second attempt, Victor realized he had gone too far when Miss Martha grabbed his hand and pushed them away while noticing his wedding ring.
Victor, what's this? Are you married?
The true face of evil is unmistakable. While some people can hide their inner evil exceptionally well, Victor was one of those people. Most people were not threatened by Victor when they saw him on the street, in church, or when he was at the register of his diner. They considered him goofy and a bit sappy, but not me. I knew there was a dark side of Victor from the very first time I met him. Hattie Mae told me that she saw Victor's face of evil that evening, and I expect it was exactly how I imagined.
Victor,
I'm asking if you're a married man.
well, technically not.
Well, technically, I'm sorry to say that I am. But we've been separated for a very long time. But you're still married, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I guess I am.
You guess you are. Well, where do you live?
Well, most of the time I live in the back of my diner.
Most of the time. Well, where do you live the rest of the time?
Well, I'm still home with her.
Well, who's her, Victor? What's her name? Do I know your wife, Victor? Victor was beginning to whimper and stumble on his words.
No, I don't expect you do.
Miss Martha was really getting upset. What's her name, Victor?
Well, her name's Amy.
Miss Martha stood up and marched over to the front door.
Mrs. Rathers? Amy? Amy Rathers? Victor, I know her. I see her at the town hall when I go to pay my water bill. She's your wife?
Miss Martha threw open the door and pointed into the darkness.
Get out of here, Victor. Get out of my house at once.
Oh, come on, Martha. Amy and I are done with each other. We're going to be divorced real soon. Mr. Rathers stood up and was very angry. His face became red, and then it turned black.
Shut up, you selfish bitch. You people come here all the time from your rich houses on the coast and flirt with us like it's no tomorrow. I know you like it, and I know you like it a lot. I know you want it too, you selfish bitch. Now shut up and lay down.
He was mad, Rainey. He turned into a monster that very second. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. He was all over her, holding her down and kissing her like some kind of a wild man. I could hardly watch as he threw her on the couch and dropped his shorts and underwear and then dove on top of her. She was screaming, Rainy Ray. She was so scared. You witnessed this? Did Victor rape her? I don't know. But he tore her shirt off and pulled it over her head. She was screaming her lungs out. And then she smacked him over the side of the head with one of her sandals. That's when he looked up and he saw me standing in the other room. So he saw you? He did, Rainey. I was so scared I couldn't move. I thought he was going to come after me. Then I ran out the back door like a frightened cat. Did he come after you? No. I don't think he's told a soul that he saw me. When I got home, I called the sheriff, but no one answered. He was probably drunk on corn liquor, I thought. So I called the hospital, and I told him to get Dr. Roy over there. So that was you that called in and didn't leave your name. I couldn't leave my name, Rainey. That man would have come over and killed me. I held her frightened body in my arms like a baby. After a few minutes, she finally looked up at me through her tearful eyes and said, "Oh, Rainey, I'm so ashamed of myself for leaving that poor woman in that house alone to fend for herself. I was so scared, I had to try to call someone." Do your mom and dad know anything about this? Rainey, white people think they can do anything they want to a black person, and nothing will ever happen to them. I have no idea what my mama would have done if she knew anything about this. And Daddy's not been in good favor with the sheriff for years, especially since one of his cousins came in and stole my daddy's property, which was rightfully his. Rainey, he's been following me around ever since that night. I think he's after me. I know he's after me. I felt a cool gust of wind and a slight pain in my sinuses that I always tagged to a drop in barometric pressure as Hattie and I made our way back up the tracks towards town. Most would consider the breeze as just welcome relief from the heat, but since I had advance warning of the storm, I think that I was one of the few to know. Way off to the north, I noticed a wide curtain of darkness. The curtain of darkness contained an ecliptic character to it, with a frontal boundary that resembled a line that was cut by a straight razor. Little did anyone know, north of Lake Summit to Flat Rock and to Hendersonville, that they were in a severe state of damage and destruction. We picked up the pace and dashed towards East Main Street, where the festivities were at full throttle. People were dancing in the street, laughing, drinking, and having the time of their life. As the storm drew closer, it had a more mysterious look to it. One side of the margin of the storm was entirely black, while the other side was a beautiful shade of blue. Ironically, for such a huge amount of atmospheric intensity, there was no thunder, lightning, or any winds of any kind that could serve as any warning to the unsuspecting town. As we reached the back of the park and came up from the railroad tracks, I saw John and Jane running towards us with a look of alarm on their faces. "Rainy Ray, you won't believe this. Victor and some attorney from Charleston have detained Miss Martha at the sheriff's office. Victor has Carol by himself now in his car and is coming after you. He's taken Carol. He's got her with him. I can't believe it. I guess he thinks he's going to use her as some sort of hostage. They want to arrest you for the rape of Miss Martha. That fancy attorney from Charleston and Victor somehow obtained a warrant for your arrest. And your mother is madder than hell. And she's chasing after Victor right now." "Well, where in the hell's Gudger?" "No one knows. He's been missing all day long. He's been gone, all of his guns are gone, and his radio's missing."
That's better. Okay, everybody circle left. And I'm going to be on the floor. Baby and I going to be leaving. Keep going, y'all.